Jake Paul's California mansion has been raided by the FBI, multiple news organizations report. You can see in this aerial footage agents in uniform outside his home in Calabasas.
There talks more shit than anybody else on the planet. They're trying to sue people when people talk shit. There's people out there saying they're fake fights, they're fixed.
I think it's scripted a little bit because, of the weight difference, and, Joshua's a former, champion. And also, he's current match.
Jake Paul had a very healthy fear for his life while he was in there. He was running away. He was trying to get distance. Then he was trying to step in to win this contest. And then he's trying to get out of the way so that he...
Jake Paul is once again at the center of a storm that could mark the end of the controversial YouTuber turned boxer's career, as fresh accusations that he allegedly scripted his high-profile fights, including the blockbuster Netflix bout against Anthony Joshua, have exploded online with some corners of social media, even claiming he and his brother reportedly faced arrest over these alleged schemes, while promoters and officials have emphatically denied that professional fights can be prearranged. Without legal consequences, the skepticism around Paul's legitimacy in the ring has reached a fever pitch, and it is a dramatic twist for a figure whose past legal scrapes already include an FBI raid on his Calabasas mansion now as allegations swirl. And his boxing credibility is questioned like never before. Many are asking, is this really the end of Jake Paul's meteoric rise?
Have raided the Southern California home of YouTube star Jake Paul. Federal officials say the search was part of an investigation. Wendy Birch is in Calabasas with what we're learning tonight.
Sky 5 was overhead this morning as federal agents entered Jake Paul's Calabasas home located in this gated community off of Mulholland Highway. We counted close to 24 federal agents, some of them in tactical gear, entering the residence. Why they were here and what they were looking for, that remains unclear. The federal search warrant has been sealed and no one is...
Boxing analysts, former fighters, and promoters have questioned the credibility of Jake Paul's fights for years long, before the latest arrest rumors ever surfaced, from carefully selected opponents past their prime to unusual fight pacing late knockdowns and contracts rumored to include restrictive clauses. Critics argue that Paul's rise has felt more manufactured than earned.
I've always been curious about this because, you saw the Askren fight, we saw these fights that he went into. The Fury one obviously didn't go the way that I thought it was going to go, just because I was so convinced that, Jake had these fights fixed, and there's a lot of people who talk about the fights being fixed because it's just the way it is.
Yeah, they tell me that too. They're like, tell me you're not going to take a fall against Paul. Everybody says that to me. I'm like, are you kidding me? You couldn't pay me all the money in the world.
Veteran voices in the sport have repeatedly pointed out that while Paul brings massive attention and money to boxing, his matchups often avoid real competitive danger, fueling suspicions that outcomes are designed to protect the brand rather than test genuine skill. As these doubts pile up, each new controversy doesn't appear in isolation. Instead, it reinforces a growing narrative that Jake Paul's boxing journey has been built on optics, leverage, and control rather than the unpredictable brutality that defines the sport.
What happened to me is what was going to happen to him had he dropped those hands. If I say, Rampage, I'm going to pay you $2 million, right? Let this dude beat you, what you going to do? You're going to feel disrespected, number one. Right? That ain't enough money. For me to do that, I got to be willing to walk away for good. Something like 20-something million where I can invest it and fall off into shape.
In the past, the fight between Mike Tyson and Jake Paul drew attention for its intensity and drama. Rumors of a leaked script suggesting the Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson fight was pre-planned caused a frenzy online. Alleged audio recordings appear to back claims that the fight's dramatic moments, including Tyson's supposed fatigue leading to Paul's knockout win, were staged.
Graduate in the United States is $1.3 million. Again, that's over the course of the person's entire life. Jake Paul earned 30 times that in one night. People talk about winners and losers, like Jake.
Following his victory over Mike Tyson, Jake Paul expressed his thoughts on his performance in the ring. Speaking confidently about the fight, Paul remarked, "I didn't get much punched or hurt." This statement underscored his belief that he had dominated the match with little resistance. Many of Paul's fans celebrated his remarks, seeing them as proof of his skill and readiness to take on even legendary opponents. However, critics were quick to point out the lack of drama and danger in the fight, arguing that Tyson's performance was lackluster and questioning whether the bout was a fair contest.
Big as the Super Bowl.
Big as the what?
Why was Mike wearing assless chaps though? In that,
did that moment go viral with his cheeks out?
I don't know. It made my stomach hurt. Though.
I was seeing it. Why didn't he have underwear ringside?
He had a G-string on, is what he had.
Almost.
I thought he was completely butt naked.
Nah, he looked like a stripper.
But yeah, biggest live gate, 18.1 millions in U.S. boxing history outside of Las Vegas. A phenomenal night. I'm sorry I didn't knock him out, though, guys.
Shut the fuck up. It was
really
crazy
sorry.
when we talked about this. I told him you were going to say some dumb shit. You did the right thing at the end.
The recent fight against Anthony Joshua is no different. Many commentators have described the pairing as absurd, noting the stark difference in experience, size, and pedigree between Paul and Joshua, with some labeling the event more spectacle than sport.
Jake Paul, I call him, against Anthony Joshua. Massive unit, two-time world champ, still got a big punch. I think he's mentally fragile at world level if he goes against the big guns because of the knockout, especially the Dubois knockout when he got fucking splattered. You know what I mean? In round 5, and he got hurt early on and then he got done. And he's not been in the ring for 13 months.
Yeah.
But can you see a world in which Jake Paul is competitive in this fight?
No.
No. How do you see the fight going if AJ takes it serious?
Yep.
Meanwhile, Jake Paul is entering this fight with a level of confidence that has surprised even seasoned observers in recent commentary. It was noted that he exudes belief in his ability to rise to the challenge and achieve victory, unlike some of his previous matchups. Paul is approaching this fight with an intense focus and determination. Analysts observing his preparation emphasize that his mindset is critical, and his confidence reflects a combination of physical readiness and mental resolve. This approach suggests that he is not underestimating the magnitude of facing a former heavyweight champion, but is instead embracing it as an opportunity to prove himself on the world stage.
He's very big. I'm here to shock the world, inspire the next generation. We're in the Heat arena. I'm a big Heat fan. Miami's on fire. This is my first pro fight, was in Miami against Gibb. I'm bringing that same energy.
However, Jake Paul's rising confidence in the boxing world has drawn skepticism from many seasoned analysts. Critics argue that Paul's belief in his ability to challenge a fighter like Anthony Joshua is unrealistic. Joshua, a highly decorated and experienced heavyweight, has years of training, numerous championship fights, and proven endurance. That Paul has yet to face. Observers note that Paul's physique and performance suggest he may rely on PED or substances.
No, I can say that with pretty certain confidence in that statement, mainly because, as you heard me mention, I know a lot of the people he trains with and I have heard things. Now let's give Jake the benefit of the doubt, right? He's able to restrain from the peer pressure that everyone's putting on him to hop on these certain compounds. Then that would be cool to train natural, do what he needs to do. But the thing is, his body composition has changed so much, his explosiveness, his power, and yes, that comes with training and time. But I find it very, very suspicious that for some reason, whenever a drug test gets brought up, for instance, when Fury wanted that in the contract, Jake Paul turns them down. So you should think to yourself, it's probably because he's not natural. Now I want to make it clear, I don't care whether Jake Paul is natural or not. There's so many people that aren't natural that are in combat sports. In fact, Tyron Woodley probably is also not natural. Everyone wants that little edge over their competition, and that's where drugs and anabolics come into play. There's certain compounds that are out there that just increase your explosiveness immensely, your recovery, so that you can stay in the same weight class, which is very important for combat sports, whether that's boxing, UFC, whatever type of combat sport you're doing. So that is why you guys have seen so much improvement from Jake Paul. Of course, he has a great circle around him, great trainers, great coaches, a great regimen, but definitely anabolics play a very fundamental role in that. They allow him to train as hard as he does. They allow him to increase his power and speed. And of course, when you think of those concepts, that's essentially the recipe.
Despite all the controversies, people are putting real money on this fight. And the betting action itself has become part of the controversy around the Paul versus Joshua event. Fans, casual bettors, and even some well-known personalities have been actively wagering on outcomes, which is adding fuel to the ongoing debate about whether the matchup is a legitimate sporting contest or spectacle.
So do you think it's going to be real, this fight? Do you think it's actually... So you think that Jake Paul...
You couldn't fake it. You really think Anthony Joshua's going to put his whole livelihood on the line for Jake Paul?
No, I don't think he would.
So there you go. It's over when he wants it to be over.
There could be some kind of tacit agreement in the background.
How?
Where they have a handshake.
Then that's illegal. You're going to jail.
Exactly, it's illegal. That's what I was going to say.
So you can't.
Because it's not an exhibition.
No, it's a fight.
So we're
and people are betting on it. Big amounts of money.
So we're watching this. I'm flying out there next week to Miami to watch it. So I'm going out there. He's laughing. I'm getting some old. So it's all good. But it's like Jake Paul against Anthony Joshua, 6 foot, was he 6'6"?
About that.
Fucking, what is he, 16? What's 245 pounds?
He can't be a pound over 245.
What's
so
that in stone?
The best part, just on 17 stone or just under.
So, Jake lost to Tommy Fury, and that's the one everyone keeps. Do you think he's improved much since Tommy Fury?
Yeah, but do I think he's improved enough to make competitive? Unless I close my eyes and Josh is completely shot to bits. No.
Yeah, and so is the potential that Jake Paul, like, I know you keep saying no, I know you're right, but is there a world in which...
Allegations of a leaked script circulated. Boxers who fought against Jake Paul faced backlash, with some accusing him of compromising his legacy. Fans speculated that Tyson sold himself to Paul, tarnishing his storied career by participating in a fight perceived as staged.
Script was fully leaked all the way down to the bow Jake did in round 8. This profile on X posted it anonymously one day before the fight, explaining everything before deleting it today. A fake script has been going around that said Mike Tyson will get KO'd in round 5, but that one was clearly not real or an older script. This will give you goosebumps. I'm just going to read you parts, but if you want to see the full script, I'll show you it at the end. Round 1, opening bell rings and Tyson is showing flashes of his old form, but slower than his prime. Round 2, Tyson comes alive, but his breathing grows heavier. Round 3, Paul gains confidence and lands a sharp right that stuns Tyson. That's exactly what happened. Then round 4 and 5, the fatigue sets in strong for Tyson and Jake is landing a bunch of hits. Round 6, Jake showboats, which is the tongue thing he did here. Then on round 7, Jake plays it safe to not KO Mike. And round 8 wins by decision and bows at the end. This is crazy. Subscribe if you want to read it yourself.
In round 7, Jake plays a safe to NO Mike, and round 8 wins by decision and bows at the end. This is crazy. Subscribe. And if you want to read it yourself, it's right here. Observers reported peculiar exchanges during the Jake Paul matches, such as Tyson allegedly whispering instructions to Paul, and referees appearing to signal Paul to avoid certain moves. These moments fueled suspicions of scripting and stage choreography. Matchroom Boxing CEO has publicly denied that the Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua fight is scripted or fixed her and has stressed that the bout happens, it would be a real professional fight under Queensberry rules and not an exhibition or a pre-written show, directly pushing back against scripting rumors.
Tyson was 100% scripted. Mike Tyson repeatedly bit his boxing glove throughout the fight. When fights are scripted, fighters do weird gestures to signal that they're hurt. It's very possible Mike Tyson was biting on his glove to tell Jake Paul to calm down. Now, if that's not enough proof that this fight was scripted, in the middle of the fight, Mike Tyson is literally talking to Jake Paul while they are clinching. And in the middle of the fight, the referee told Jake Paul to stop measuring. For those of you who don't know, in boxing terms, measuring means that you're setting up for a knockout by seeing how far your opponent is with jab. The referee literally told Jake Paul to stop measuring, and before the fight, we see Mike Tyson and Jake Paul whispering stuff to each other. Mike Tyson biting on his gloves, whispering secrets to Jake Paul in the middle of the fight, and the referee literally telling Jake Paul to stop measuring during the fight.
Frank Smith has sparked fresh controversy around the Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul fight, warning that the event is less about sport and more about showmanship. He argued that rather than a legitimate boxing contest, the bout will be a spectacle engineered for entertainment, not a serious test of skill. Smith suggested that what fans are getting is designed to sell and shock rather than uphold boxing's competitive integrity by framing it as serious entertainment. He cast doubt on how genuine or competitive the fight would truly be. Smith also said he remains hopeful that a Fury-Joshua showdown could happen. He referred to the bout as the biggest fight to be made, expressing optimism that by 2026 the mega clash will finally materialize. At the same time, Smith cautioned that boxing is full of talk and that not all proposed fights come to fruition, implying that while the idea excites fans, many logistical and contractual hurdles remain.
His legacy just by taking this fight. Fans don't respect what he's done in the sport already. He's an Olympic gold medalist, 2-time unified heavyweight champion of the world. I sort of sympathize with him because I feel like if he doesn't beat him quicker than he beat Francis, people are just going to write it off. I'll ask you bluntly, have there been any discussions about there's an agreement, there's a secret contract? Have any of those discussions happened regarding this fight?
It's an 8-round professional fight. AJ wouldn't have taken it if that was the stance it had to be, if it was an exhibition, if it was you've got to hold him up for 8 rounds. It wouldn't suit Anthony Joshua.
A lot of people saying this can't be real, you know, Anthony Joshua going in there, it must be an exhibition, or Anthony Joshua's it's going to be choreographed and Anthony's going to carry him through a couple of rounds. I know Anthony Joshua, just to silence all those doubters, he's going to go in there to do a job, right?
It's 100% real. It's 100% real. People ask him, why is it 8 rounds, not 10? Because I don't think it goes past the first round. So it's, regardless, it's quite irrelevant. I think he steps across the ring and knocks him out, but we're in for a bit of fun and everyone's going to be tuning in.
It might not be fun for Jake Paul. I mean, it's serious entertainment, is it?
Yeah, 100%. Look, I agree with you. I accept Jake Paul is absolutely mental for doing this, and I don't think he quite realizes. I think he's got people around him who actually are saying, Anthony Joshua's chinny. He said it in interviews. It's quite wild, but if that's the world he wants to live in, he'll find out on December 19th.
And Frank, to finish with, the plan is still sometime in 2026, AJ against Tyson Fury, and Turki Al-Sheikh's working on that, is he?
That's the fight we want to make. That's the fight we want to see. Look, we're all guilty of doing a lot of talking over the years and that not happening. So I don't want to talk too much, but that is definitely what we want to see in 2026. It's one of the biggest fights in the sport.
Look bad or devalue him, lose rounds, go loads of rounds.
Do you think there's any world in which AJ pulls back, though?
Absolutely. He couldn't do that as a fighter. He would be incapable of going in there and holding back. I mean, I think the only thing that's a bit harsh is if Anthony Joshua doesn't knock him out in the first round, he should be ashamed of himself. Like, Brian, give us 2, or 3. Because if Jake does move, he can look after himself. It's not like he's just going to get one shot round the...
Joshua promoter Eddie Hearn has also directly addressed the scripting accusations. Those responses have been viewed as controversial in themselves. Hearn joked about the only script being Joshua's plan to come out and knock Paul out as quickly as possible. A statement he clarified was meant to underline the seriousness of the bout and dismiss the narrative of preordained outcomes. At the same time, the very need to publicly ridicule and correct these claims reflects how much the chatter has taken hold among fans and within media circles.